Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy Hodges. I'm an advocate for OCD, in particular pure OCD, which is also the name of my memoir, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. I'm a certified peer support specialist and I work with people all over the world providing support, referrals for therapists if you are looking for treatment. And I also run groups, 8-week closed groups. I have groups that at different time zones so it can fit wherever you are in the world. Go to my website, chrissyhodges.com to find out more. NoCD is an app. Inside the app, you can find tons of resources, connect with other people who have OCD, and they also offer telehealth in many, many different places doing ERP. So go to their website, treatmyocd.com to find out more. Thanks so much for being here. This is such an important topic, and I do want to remind you of two things. Number one, just because I talk about this topic and I don't mention something specifically that you go through does not mean that I am saying that you don't have OCD. OCD experiences are a wide range of things we can experience, and sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. This is why searching and Googling on the internet sometimes can get us all tangled up. And do I have OCD or not? Because you might read or listen about someone's experience and it doesn't match your own, and you start to get doubts about that as well. So this is an informative video. I'm just pulling from some of the things that I hear, and I do think it's such an important topic that I wanted to make sure and do a video specific to this. Number two, if you don't have OCD and you don't understand OCD, this video may feel offensive to you. I would highly encourage you to go and watch other videos on OCD and what it is and how it manifests before you get the urge to comment. Because if you comment inflammatory, mean stuff, I'm just going to delete it and block you. I just don't have the bandwidth for that kind of banter and those kind of things that might trigger my community, because that is the most important thing. And just in general, if you're going to post like negative comments, I'm just going to delete them. If you have some constructive feedback you'd like to give me, head on over to my website and send me an email that way, and maybe we can talk back and forth there instead of on a public forum. So anyway, let's talk about this topic. So I titled this topic based on not being able to remember something that you may have done, may or may not have done. So this very much coincides with real event OCD, false memory OCD. Again, I'm not pinpointing whether it does or it doesn't, so don't read into that on what your symptoms mean, but this is where those things can really get triggered. Real event OCD is when something has happened and later on you obsess about it, obsess what really happened. Can you not remember it correctly? What were your intentions behind what happened? False memory is trying to recall, usually mentally reviewing something and not being sure on whether or not the thing actually happened or that memory is real or not. Sometimes if we're honing in on memory, and we're looking for specific things, or we're looking for reassurance or proof, we may inadvertently create memories that aren't real, or we may have flashbacks of something that did or didn't happen, and we don't know how to interpret it years and years later. So that's just a little bit of information about those. Okay, so what am I talking about today in this video? I hear this a lot. Now, this is where, if you don't understand OCD, you may think that I'm saying something negative about this movement, and I'm not. Even though this was prevalent before this happened, as many of us know, and in my country and America and many other countries, the MeToo movement. So the movement where individuals who have been sexually harassed have been speaking out. So me too, it happened to me too. When this movement came out, which I am very much in support of people being able to speak out when they have been abused and harassed, and being able to get justice for that, or at least be able to get validation for that they're not the only one and what happened to them was bad and did and could cause trauma. However, when that movement started, just like any media, just like any news of an incident or something that can happen that can trigger a specific thing of OCD, this really, really, really did trigger a lot of people in the way of, oh my goodness, am I someone who could have done that? Have I harassed someone? Have I abused someone? Did I have sex with someone without consent? Did I roll around or make out with someone without consent? Or has someone done that to me without consent? Have I been raped? Has someone sexually harassed me? Has someone abused me? And maybe I don't know it. There we go with mental review, or needing to go back and replay a memory, which is mental review over and over and over and over in order to figure out whether it is or isn't. And then, so both sides of this coin can exist. So again, not saying anything about the movement, but this was a big trigger for a lot of people, especially men. This does not mean that women were not part of this as well, but I mostly have heard from men who, once this happened, that they started to feel a lot of paranoia. Which then, of course, when you're feeling paranoia, you start to think, well, why am I feeling paranoia? What does that mean? There must be paranoia there for a reason. Maybe I did something. So you might start mentally reviewing things that have happened as far back as when you were a kid. If you've seen a lot of the videos on my channel, you've seen that I've done a lot of videos on child's play, which is sometimes we do sexual acts or harm acts before we even know what's going on. Typically it's sexual exploration. It could be with family members, it could be with neighbors, it could be something could have happened to you with a neighbor or babysitter, family member, and those kind of things are very confusing upon reflection when you're an adult, right? And especially when you have OCD, because we start to get into what does that mean, and what does that mean about me? Is this an early indication I was a sexual deviant? Is this an early indication that I'm capable of these things? So child's play can get very, very intertwined with what we're dealing with OCD. And for this in particular, the mental review of, have I abused someone? Have I harassed someone? Have I done something inappropriate? Did I do something without consent? This is huge and can be very triggering, because you're scoping or combing your mind for memories, needing to know your intention, needing to know, did the other person have consent? Was it okay? You know, that one time I was in the office, 10, 12 years ago, and, so-and-so came up and I patted her on the back. Or I patted her maybe a little lower on the back. Did I go too close to her waist? Did I go? Same with women though. Same thing. I hugged someone at work, or I hugged someone, and did I hug them too tight? Did I press my boobs up against them? So we start mentally reviewing things that have happened on the fear that we have done something, and it now can be seen as harassment, seen as abuse, seen as non-consent, and or it goes further than that. If I did that, what does that mean about me? Am I a person that would do that? Did I do that on purpose? Am I capable of it? So again, I want to remind you that revisiting these memories over and over and over, that is a compulsion. It's mental review. Every time you're revisiting it, you are looking for proof or disproof that this did or didn't happen, and it's likely you're not going to get that. And then what happens is sometimes you start looking even further. You might contact people. Say, do you remember that time that we went on a date and I hugged you and maybe I thrusted into you? I don't know. I'm just using this as an example, because these are some of the things that people worry about when they have sexual intrusive thoughts, and maybe they didn't give us consent. When I hugged you, maybe I leaned in, maybe I thrusted towards you. And this is where, again, if you've seen my videos, this goes into involuntary body movements that can be seen as checking. So you could remember something and be like, oh my gosh, I thrusted when I hugged that person. But did you thrust? I mean, you don't even know if you did, but you may be mentally reviewing to see if you did. Then you might go ask someone, did I thrust when I hugged you? I mean, that's not going to go over well. It just isn't, because people don't understand a lot of the times when our OCD and anxiety. And so they're going to be like, oh, that's bizarre. So I am always cautious and reminding you to be cautious about confession. And that's what this is. You're asking for reassurance, but you're also confessing, right? Because you're looking for the reassurance while you're confessing that someone says, oh no, you didn't do that, and I don't remember that, and you're a good person, and you wouldn't do something like that. So then you'll get that, but then 10 minutes later, you might think to yourself, maybe I should ask again, because maybe they don't remember the thrust. So I'm just using that as an example. There's all kinds of examples in regards to this. Oh, okay. I also wanted to make this point. I should have made this at the beginning. but I'm going to make it now. So when we're talking about like the Me Too movement, and we're talking about like whether or not someone gave consent, or you possibly harassed or abused someone, yada, yada, yada. And you're watching this video and going, this is stupid. People should be able to remember. Okay, well, there's a difference between people who don't want to remember and are just like, well, I don't give a fuck, right? And then there's people who have OCD and anxiety who are desperate to remember, and desperate to remember exactly how something happened in order to be able to prove or disprove something about themselves or something about the interaction. That's the difference. This isn't someone coming over here being like, I just don't want to remember and I don't care because hell yeah, I just want to harass everybody. That's not what this is. This is the desperation of needing to find something out in order to clear your conscience, in order to prove to yourself that you're not a sexual deviant, or you're not capable of that, or that something isn't going to come back to you. This is a big one with this theme, and with this, with all of this kind of stuff, is worrying if I did something, or if something was perceived and I didn't even mean to do it, or I'm unclear about what my intentions were. What if they were and I didn't know it? The big fear is, what if this comes back to haunt me? So here we're going right into the cancel culture piece, which these two things went hand in hand, if you remember, years ago. So then this is, oh my goodness, what if I did something and it comes back and I lose my job? It comes back, I lose my spouse or my partner. I lose my kids. I lose everything. I'm seen as this horrible deviant. I'm seen as this awful person. Everything that I have built is going to collapse because of something I did, or something I may have done and I don't even remember, or something that was said or done and I didn't even know that it was, that it could be perceived as harassment or something like that. That then also becomes a worry. So that is very much when the paranoia starts, or can be exacerbated, which is really starting to make sure, wanting to confess to anybody and anything that you can perceive in your mind that could have been taken that way. And that is excruciatingly exhausting. The paranoia in itself is terrifying, because any one of us can get caught up in paranoia, and paranoia can latch on to just about anything. And I also wanted to mention it because this is really important too. When people are experiencing this, and especially since kind of the Me Too movement, people are very careful about, things that they talk about in the past. They're very careful about sharing these things with people in case people get the wrong idea. And then what also happens is that you can start monitoring your body. You can start monitoring your, when you have anxiety and you might get flushed or you might sweat when you're around someone, then you might think to yourself, oh my goodness, are they noticing that I am feeling flushed around them? Or if this topic comes up, and this goes for anything, right? If your topic comes up and then you start to experience anxiety, a big point of paranoia for so many of us is, are the people around me noticing that I am getting flushed, that I'm sweating, that I'm starting to have anxiety? Because there's a big fear of, what if people can read my thoughts? What if people know what I'm thinking? So if that topic comes up and you're in a room with a bunch of people or with someone else and you start to have anxiety, then you start to feel scared. What if they know that I'm uncomfortable about this, and then all of a sudden they think to themselves, oh no, why are they uncomfortable? Does that mean they've done something? Does that mean that they're this kind of person? Or does that mean that that theme or whatever is being talked about is correct? So what happens is this is not only latching onto your past, okay? This is also latching onto the present, and you're thinking into the future too. Which is now monitoring every single movement that you do, monitoring where your hands go, monitoring what you look at, monitoring anything that you have said, anything you've written down in emails, DMs, things like that, social media posts, things like that. You start to monitor those things. And if you have seen my videos that are talking about micromanaging your body, this can become so, so tough. This can become, oh my goodness, someone just walked by. Did I thrust my hips? I'm just staying with that one because that's a hugely common fear. Did I move my hips in that direction? Did I move my boobs in that direction? Did I look down at someone's boobs? Did I look down at someone's crotch? Where did I place my hand when I hugged them? Where did my boobs go when I hugged them? Where did my crotch go when I hugged them? Did they put their crotch on me and they're going to think that I did it? So see, it can really, really become a lot of micromanaging, which can just be exhausting. So that's really all I had to say about this. As I said at the beginning of this video, there's a lot of ways that this can, branch out and pull you in so many directions. But the main point I wanted to say is that this happens to both men and women. And there is a lot of mentally reviewing of memories, needing to find out proof. And this can be such a deep hole. And it can be really mentally exhausting. And you can also feel so terrible about yourself when you're trying to figure out the past and then also thinking, well, what can I do now so I don't get in that position in the future? You can just become so exhausted. It can become very depressing and hopeless. I wanted to do this video specifically because I hear this so much from men, a lot. And I also hear it from women. So if you're a woman that experiences this, trust me, you're not alone either. I just wanted to make sure that the men that this is experiencing this, that you're feeling validated and a little bit less alone, because I know that this topic hit really hard once that MeToo movement came through. So anyway, I hope this was helpful to you. If you're interested in peer support, referrals for therapists, head on over to chrissyhodges.com. And if you would like resources and ERP therapy from OCD, head on over to treatmyocd.com. Okay, I'll see you next time.